Calling school committee to order, Thursday, November 16th, 6:33 p.m. First order of business is the statement regarding recording.
Good evening. This meeting will be recorded and will be posted to YouTube and other social media platforms. By participating in this meeting, you understand that the recording could contain your video stream or your audio stream, including images of yourself or anyone in the room with you. If you choose to enable your video or audio device during the meeting, as well as anything or anyone else that may be in the background, could be recorded. The recording could include any opinions you contribute and anything you say about yourself. On occasion, chat within the meeting could also be captured in the meeting recording. Therefore, anyone attending the recorded meeting may have aspects of their personal data recorded if they actively participate or not.
Thank you. Roll call.
Dr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. Deschamps?
Yes.
Mr. Willanen?
Here.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Garvey?
Yes.
Ms. Cartier?
Here.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Here.
Ms. Cormier is not joining us tonight. I don't see Ms. Chafee, and Mr. Wiggler will not be with us. Mrs. Thompson?
Here.
Mr. Nutter?
Here.
Mr. Jean-Francois? And Chairman Brophy?
Here. Next item is the approval of minutes. It was in our drive. It's also at your place. First approval of minutes is September 14th.
So moved. Second.
And a second, okay. Are there any potential omissions, deletions, or corrections? Seeing and hearing none, roll call.
Dr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. Deschamps?
Yes.
Mr. Willanen?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Garvey?
Yes.
Ms. Cartier?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Nutter?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes. We have October 12th, 2023 minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
Sure.
Is there a second? And second, okay, Lee and Dr. Allen.
And Mr. Brophy, I neglected to include our two student representatives in our roll call for attendance. So just going to bring that up. I see they're both here, but.
Yeah, I was going to introduce Isabella in a second.
Okay.
And then on this call, can we revise when we'll ask?
Yes.
For, you know, if for notes? No, they don't need to do that.
No.
Okay. Thursday, October 12th was motion moved and seconded. Any potential corrections, omissions, or deletions? Roll call.
Dr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. Deschamps?
Yes.
Mr. Willanen?
Yeah.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Garvey?
Yes.
Ms. Cartier?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Nutter?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay.
And if the school committee, my colleagues don't mind, to take just a couple of items out of order. It's the Student Advisory Council, both from the beginning as an item, as well as introduction and welcoming, which we knew of, as Isabella Covello as a student advisory rep, along with Nick. Isabel, I apologize. No
That's
way.
okay.
Isabel, welcome. You don't have to say anything if you don't want to at this moment. Anything you'd like to? We welcome you. Anything on your mind you'd like to say? It's up to you at this moment.
Just thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Got it.
If anyone went to the play this weekend, Isabel was Trunchbull in Matilda over the weekend, so you probably don't recognize her. She was great. It was wonderful.
So I'd like to go right to the Student Advisory Council in two parts. One, I'd like to know if Nick and Isabel has any concern at this time or anything you want to address at this moment, because you can participate as we continue to work through this process in our agenda. And also I have elementary Ocam Center School grade 5 students council reps presentation this evening as well.
I don't think there's anybody left in that school. I think it's.
So if my colleagues do not mind taking any items, this item out of order? No, okay. I'm going to turn to the superintendent. Any comments or anything at this moment to bring to our attention or to report on?
I just sent out a survey this past week on behalf of the Central Massachusetts Regional Student Advisory Council, which Dave is the chair of, and I'm the communications coordinator, to our school as well as to other schools in the region, essentially regarding what topics students would like to see acted on, whether it's sustainability in our schools or career preparation or diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I just sent that out to 11 students this past week. When the council meets at the end of the month, on the 30th, we're going to decide which regionally we're going to focus on. At the moment, there's a huge, from 11 students, a lot of them are very interested in career planning and diversity classes. So once we get the results of that survey and from the rest of the schools, we'll be sure to report back on our plans of action.
Fantastic.
And the thing that was mentioned was financial literacy courses.
Ah,
Today, we had the state council meeting today, and because we're a regional leadership, we attend the state council meetings. And at the state council meeting, I'm in the career education and preparation work group or subcommittee. And then Isabel is in the sustainability work group. I know today at the career education preparation subcommittee, we kind of float around ideas on what it is we're going to focus on this year. And so financial literacy came up along with kind of career planning and options that we can recommend to the Board of Education to give students across Massachusetts and in our own district. Luckily, Quabbin kind of already has a good foothold in that area, so I was able to recommend some of the kind of programs we have on some of the classes that we also have, especially when it comes to financial literacy.
good. Any other questions for our student reps at this moment? Good. I'd like to turn over to the superintendent. We'll do the elementary student reps.
Terrific. I'm going to ask Principal Worthington to set the stage for us and do some student introductions. Welcome. We're so happy to have you here.
Very excited to be here. First, I want to point shout out to Ms. Miller, who runs our student council and runs a lot of things going on in our elementary school. So there's quite a few members here, and the reason why there's so many members is because all of these students wrote letters on why they should be on student council and what they would do as a student council rep. And Ms. Miller said that they did such a fantastic job. It was so difficult to make a decision on who should be on and who shouldn't. And I don't think since I've been here, this has ever happened before. So congratulations to all of you. So I thought if you could just go around and let them know who you are, and then we can start. You can just say your name, that's okay.
Hi, I'm Lady Rivard. I'm Charlie Sheldon. I'm Emily Shore. I'm Ava Sherpa. I'm Elizabeth Laramie. I'm Matthew Vermont. I'm Nolan O'Connor. I'm Lincoln Graves.
Okay, so
And we should know that the redheaded girl is special because she's related to a school committee member.
We, the members of the Oakham Center School Student Council, would like to thank you for inviting us to speak with you tonight. Student Council is a group of fifth grade students who are involved in organizing activities and fun for all the students at Oakham Center School. To get onto Student Council, we had to first be nominated by a classmate. We had to write a speech that we presented to the students in our class. An election was held and voting occurred. We each have a classroom in the school that we represent. We meet in the classrooms and let them know about activities and ask them for ideas that we can work on. One activity that we have done was helping with the PAWS program at Oakham Center School.
PAWS is our behavior program that Oakham has recently started. It is a program to keep everyone from staying out of trouble and a fun way to earn rewards. Each letter in PAWS represents a behavior. P stands for please be respectful. A stands for always be kind. W stands for we are responsible. And S stands for stay safe. Each classroom has a pause card outside the classroom door. When the class shows they are following one of the behaviors, they're rewarded by getting one of the dots on their pause card folded. Once a class earns 10 dots, they get to choose a prize. Prizes include things like an extra recess, extra computer time, eat lunch with an invited guest, and being recognized during morning announcements. As the student council, Ms. Worthington asked us to help introduce PAWS to the students in the school. During a school-wide assembly, the student council performed skits to represent each of the letters in PAWS. We showed students what not following the behavior would look like. Then we showed them what following the behavior does look like. The students in the school had fun booing bad behavior and cheering for good.
Another activity that we recently organized was Ocam Center School's annual Take a Veteran to School Day. On Thursday, November 9th, we invited veterans from the communities of Ocam and New Braintree to our school to honor them. The veterans that came were parents, grandparents, and other relatives of students, as well as community members. The day before the event, we decorated hallways and set up the teacher's room for the veterans.
Last Thursday, we met the veterans at the entrance of the school and brought them to the teacher's room. When it was time, we brought them to the gym. We presented a program during which we talked about the importance of Veterans Day and introduced the veterans to all the students in the school. Each class had a turn to sing a song or recite a poem to honor them. After that, the veterans went to the classroom to talk to the students about serving our country. The students were also able to ask questions. Some veterans even brought pictures and other mementos of their time in the service. It was very interesting and we learned a lot from the veterans. When they were done speaking to the class, we brought them to the teacher's room again, where we were able to enjoy some snacks with the veterans. Being on student council is a very important and special position at our school. We were held to high standards and must be good role models to all the other students at OCAM. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to present to you this evening.
Thank you. Are there any questions, any members, to any of the council members?
I don't have a question as much as a comment. We really appreciate you being here, but I hope you understand how important you are to your community because you represent all the other students in school. And that's a responsibility. It's one thing to say, geez, I'm a member of the student council, and it's a nice thing to say, but you have to be careful that you listen to, to your friends or to students maybe that aren't your friends yet. Because they may have problems or issues that you might be able to help them with, or at least be the conduit so that you could get them either to a teacher or administrator. So it's an important thing, and we appreciate the fact that you want to take this responsibility on. I think that's really a good thing.
Anyone else? I just want to echo what Mr. Willand said. Yes, you are role models. You also are starting in fifth, well, you start obviously in preschool and kindergarten and went to school, but you're becoming in a leadership role. And we would like you to think about that leadership role as you continue sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade. You may be sitting right up here with Isabel and with Nick. And to be part of, not only be part of a committee, but be representative of all the students at not just OCAM, but really in Quabbin as well, the elementaries, it really is. Couple quick questions. I like to ask questions and ask how things are going. I understand your pause about the respect and always being kind and safe That is our number one perspective, is being safe for all students. On your, is it your pod program? Is that an assemblies? Was I correct on that? What was the pod? Was it?
What did you do for pause?
We had an assembly and
Okay,
then every time a student's classroom does something right, they get a dot on their card.
okay, that's what it is. How is school going this year? I know it's November. Anyone would like to come? How is school going for you and in school at Ocam? It's an open question. It's a totally open question. You don't have to. It's up to you. Does anybody want to make a comment?
You like your teachers at least?
Yes, in the back.
And going really well.
It's going really well. Good. And I know I ask kind of sometimes some tough questions too. Is there anything that we as school committee, is there anything that we can help to add, possibly add, make a difference or change? Do you have any recommendations for us? Your voice matters and your opinion matters. I know I'm putting you on the spot. Is there something that we need to improve on? Even us. Is there anything we can improve on? And I know you might want more recess, so I don't know if that is an area we can increase, but is there any improvements that we can work on? Yes, yes.
Maybe like having like dances, like in third grade, we had a neon dance. Maybe we could have more of those.
Okay, dance, some socialization, fantastic. Thank you. That's, anybody else? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but let me just tell you, I'd like you to stand, all of you, stand, please. You want to say you read clearly, succinctly, you articulated your words, public speaking is nervous for everybody. You did a great job. All of us would we agree?
Yes.
And your teacher and the principal will know, if you have other concerns and you want to be able to share them, you can, and you also have student reps that you could even get information to. So feel free to do that. We want to continue to learn, listen, and you have a voice as well.
I think we ought to have thanks for the parents who brought them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You can't get here without that. So.
It's a long walk, anyway.
Long walk. So is there anything else? Thank you. You don't have to stay. That's why we try to take the item out of order, and have a great and safe Thanksgiving and enjoy
Thank you for
school.
bringing them.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we're passing around.
The big audience.
I know.
We'll get them.
She's still here.
Colleen, what happened to our,
See if she's
we
still
copies
there.
of our pictures from the.
Oh, yeah, Colleen.
Yeah.
Did our
Colleen.
picture not come out?
We didn't get that.
All right,
Just gonna see.
we'll get back on. But I can't until the superintendent.
Yeah, she's checking on something.
We don't have middle high school.
But we had
We are,
December.
we're
December.
moving Samantha to December.
To December.
Yeah.
Samantha. Okay, administrative reports, superintendent of schools.
So I want to start by introducing you to our long-awaited arrival of our new Director of Food and Nutrition, Olivia Biendo. She comes to us, I think as of, what was it, about October 18th or something like that. So she's been getting her feet wet, and we're so excited to have her. So I'm going to ask Olivia to just tell you a little bit about herself. And if you have any questions for her, you can ask her.
Hi, everyone. I'm Olivia. Thank you for taking the time out of your meeting today to introduce me. I have studied culinary and nutrition and school nutrition education in both undergrad and my graduate studies. All of my career I have spent in food service and healthcare around food service, but my goal was always to come to school education. So I'm very excited to be here and be a part of the school system. I know I have a lot of stuff to learn from all of you and all of the children here, but I'm very eager to do so and hopefully make some positive change for our kids. So thank you.
Brown.
Yes, how are you doing with missing food? We were hearing frequently that the menu or the federal requirements call for X, Y, Z, and there is no Y and Z.
Yes, quite frankly, a little poorly, but I am still working with our previous director, Carrie. She's been great getting me up to speed on the system and how everything works here and in the school system. So she's helping me kind of guide through it and navigate, and we're working together to figure out some alternatives and maybe some better changes in the foreseeable future. So not very great.
Any other comments? Again, welcome. Thank you for coming to Quabbin. And just a quick personal, you said last name is Biendo?
Yes.
In relation to Bill Biendo?
Spelled different.
Spelled differently, okay. Bill Biendo was the principal of, it's spelled differently, so it doesn't matter. But he's principal of Wachusett High School.
I wondered the same thing for myself, spelling.
You did too, okay. Again, welcome, thank you, and we'll hear from updates from Cheryl and perspectives like that as well, and everything else that's going on. And again, as we go into budget season and everything else, I know you'll be working with Cheryl and doing what we have to do. And just so you know, from a school committee perspective, 10 years ago or so, there are people at this table that remember, we were at a crossroads too. Were we going to outsource or make it better? And we chose to make it better internally. So again, thank you for your leadership and as we go forward.
So the rest of my report is in your folder. But I just want to keep updating you on my goals and what I've done to achieve them, so you can sort of read that. One thing that I'm going to be starting is focus groups with our seniors. I hope to work backwards, but I really want to take some time to hear from our students about their hopes and dreams and how Quabbin has served them. So Mrs. Bennett and I will be tag teaming the flex blocks. So we plan to come around and meet with smaller groups of students. Also, I've just been putting in there any of the professional development that I've been doing. I recently also administered a survey. So I sent a survey out to all of our teachers and staff just to sort of get a baseline around leadership, so that I could set some goals for myself around instructional leadership. So there were certainly probably some areas of strength in leadership, but we definitely I have areas for growth. And those are in the areas of feedback and coaching and evaluation. So what that means is really working to ensure that our teachers are getting meaningful feedback and coaching to help them improve their instruction, and also working thinking through our evaluation system and how we can make that more meaningful for our teachers. I plan to, just got my survey results back this morning, so I haven't really processed some action steps for you, but I will report those out in December. The next thing on my report is just to share out that the school committee and I attended the joint conference, and we attended several sessions. I think I figured out probably 60 between all of us across the 3 days. Some of the topics are there. I do have some fantastic pictures, but I forgot to include them here, but I'm going to try and do that before the end of the meeting. And just a couple updates that I like to make sure people are aware of is that our middle high school report cards went out. We had our NHS induction ceremony last night. It's been a really busy week. We had an awesome play. The field hockey playoffs were also this past weekend. So it's been a busy, but exciting time for sure. I think Carrie is remote tonight.
Hi there. So last time we met, it was requested that we put together a list of the grants that we've been awarded to date for fiscal year 2024. Some of those grants are managed by the Student Services Department. Some are managed by the Teaching, Learning, and Support Department. Each one comes with its own special set of rules regarding how the funding can be and cannot be used. So we put that list for you in the Google Drive for your review, and I think you have a couple of copies there as well. Please feel free to, reach out if you have questions about those grants. And then I also wanted to address another one of our strategic goals tonight, 3.4, which is to create a strong multi-tiered system of support targeting the social emotional growth of all learners. So I mentioned the last time that we had recently received a continuation grant to help us continue our work in developing this system. Over the past couple of years, we put in place a variety of tier 1 structures to support our students' social emotional learning, including some explicit SEL lessons at the middle high school twice a month in Flex Block, a SEL program called Bouncy that our guidance counselors are administering in the elementary schools, and our work on culturally and linguistically responsive teaching practices last year in the middle high school and this year in the elementary schools. So we are reconvening that SEL committee with that grant money. And our goals this year would be to work towards strengthening our tier 1 SEL programming by integrating the SEL instruction into our academic curriculum, particularly in the middle high school this year. And at the tier 3 level, we have some additional supports available, through people like our social workers, adjustment counselors, BCBAs, people who support our students who have been identified through the IEP or 504 process. But we really think that maybe we need more work in that tier 2 in between level. So we did start the process this year to expand that work. We used our fall panorama survey data, which says that we have some relative strengths across our district in the areas of supportive relationships and social awareness, but we have some challenges under emotional regulation and self-efficacy. So we're going to be using those surveys to identify students who are in need of an extra level of support, and we're going to try to reach them through an intervention group for some support in our schools. And that's all I have for tonight.
Thanks, Carrie. Mr. Clark, do you want to say anything about the safety report?
So we recently received the rest of the safety report, and we're currently dissecting everything and going through recommendations, et cetera, to try and determine which direction we're going to be going with to either correct or change certain protocols and systems that we have in place.
Thank you. And Andrew Walsh. Is he on the screen?
Yes.
Sorry about that. My camera wouldn't turn on.
Yes.
I don't know why, but it's there now. I am happy to report that the new website is live. It actually went online last night, and our DNS records updated today, so it became available under www.qrsd.org. I don't know if Ms. Bennett, if you want to pull the site up.
Where would you like me to go from here, Mr. Walsh?
Yeah, you just want to drop into the menu page. If you want to scroll down, actually, using your wheel button. So this site is actually pretty unique in the fact that it flows from left to right rather than up and down. The calendaring page, this is actually pulled in directly from the district calendar. So any events that we add will automatically be updated to this website. And on the school pages, it is going to be a mix of the school and district calendars. So both calendars will show up there. Here's the superintendent's newsletters that come out every month. I don't think you're on the right network, so you're getting a block. You probably, it looks like you're on the student network, so it looks like you're getting a block for Facebook. But normally, right, it would say it would actually display the active Facebook feeds in real time. So any postings that we make to Twitter, Facebook will automatically show on our webpage now. And then if you want to head back over to the main menu, if you want to head over to you can go to the schools. If you want to go to say Ruggles Lane. So again, a very similar design, but it's unique to this, unique to the school. All of the videos that we have, are all students from across our district. So there's no more students that are now parents in our district. These are all active students in our schools. As you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, right in the center, all of our social media links are very easily accessible right there on the front, as well as online payments, the lunch app, which is important for having to grab that menu every morning to find out what your kids are supposed to have, as well as the, if you click on the calendar, hopefully I updated that button, and if not, go to the, nope, click on the menu and then go to calendar. And once again, you'll see this should be a mix of blue and red. So all events in blue are specific to Ruggles Lane School, and all the events in red are something that happens district-wide. So we are still making some tweaks. This just went live today. We've run into a couple minor issues, but overall, I'm very happy with the launch. If you want to go back to the main website, Jess, which is the link at the top. No, sorry, the very top page where it says home, your top tab.
Right here?
No, the top tab on top of your web browser.
Sorry, right there.
Nope,
Right here, this one.
There you go.
Thank you, Andrew.
This is the main high school one. So
Been
all
a
the
long
schools
day.
are accessible through here. All the departments for the central office are listed there. And then under our district, you'll find school committee and the superintendent's welcome messages.
And it's a left to right
It's a
perspective?
left to right scroll on a computer for the home page.
Okay, on the home page.
On the home
And everything
page,
else is an up and down.
Yep, and that's only on the computer. That doesn't function very well on an iPhone or a tablet. So when you do this site is dynamically scalable. So when you do connect to it with a mobile device, it is actually made for mobile. So all of the pictures line up inside and properly inside of the dimensions of your cell phone. So it's nothing's squished, which was a big problem we had with our older website. So everything will automatically shift to be most viewable. So we will continue working on this as we go forward. I want to give a big shout out to a couple people, especially Therese Salvador for all the hard work she's done. She worked through the summer. She worked after hours, designing, doing the format, putting up content. Also, thank you to Teresa Boucher, Becky Harvey, Pam Chisholm, Carrie Metcalf, and Christopher McGinn for their hard work. They've also been adding a ton of content as we're getting closer to the live site. Are there any questions on the design, or I mean, you're gonna have to play with it because it's a very large site. I did put all of the links to the website to each individual school inside the document that you received tonight, so you can click on those. It'll take you there directly.
Brown?
Yeah, what's with these tickets? I'm a little concerned because I saw the police down here when we came in, and it looked like he was giving somebody a ticket.
The police do not work for me, so those tickets don't fall under the tech department. The tickets that we get is anytime a user submits a problem, it's called a tech ticket. So,
Tech ticket.
yeah, anytime that
Yes.
somebody submits a problem, that is something that gets open for us to close.
So work
we can
order.
track them.
Oh, okay.
It's a question, query, work order, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So you want us to go through it, navigate it, experiment with it, work it, and understand it?
I hope so.
We will
It's
do
live
that.
and we're not going back, so.
Right,
I'm
right.
sure we're gonna see a lot of tech tickets in the next few days to a week, saying that this isn't quite right. But overall, the launch went much smoother than I anticipated.
So great, because I'm even thinking like, when we put on our policies and comments, there's a policy section there, correct? In the world of the school committee perspective?
There is actually, and the policy section is different than what we were traditionally using, where we'd have to put up the whole document and we'd have to wait for editing and then publishing and then transforming of the document to a PDF. These are actually in real time. So as Mrs. Bennett makes the changes on the policy documents in the school, they're automatically updated on the website instantaneously.
Fantastic. Okay, anything else?
We completed the wireless migration. Everybody's over on the new system now. We retired the old controllers. And for state reporting, we did certify in window for all of our October 1 numbers. So those reports will be available soon. And the rest of the reports are coming up in December. And we are in the very last round of our cybersecurity training. We should get the report soon on our completion levels. There is another round being offered next year that's truncated, so it's not quite as intensive for schools that have already done it before. And that will probably start in February if we choose to take part in it. And that is all I have.
Thank you. So the next section of the report is Cheryl's section. Unfortunately, she's not feeling well tonight. So just a couple highlights here. They're going to present the information from the audit at the December meeting. Also, she's been on training for procurement and she's had to put a couple of procurements out. So she did get the borrowing for the chiller project. You can see here, it's going to be about 15% over the life of the loan. She also sent out a bid for, we had the donation of the Northfield Mount Herman building, I guess I'll call it, right? And so she did an IFB for the construction of that, and we will hear back on that. She's sharing with School and Nutrition that our post-grad program has been taking advantage of our lunches, and they're excited about that. And the fundraising, I believe, has gone up maybe since last month, but it's $42,491. And we'll go over those warrants in that next section. So Mr. Devine has the next part.
Okay, so I wanted to let you know that the Providence Regional School District was not moved forward to Part B of the early college designation. We got some feedback from the state on that. They did not believe that we had it cohorted enough. Our presentation to them was we wanted early college to be available to all students. And the feedback was they would like us to cohort it more than have it for all students. They also were unsure which students would be prioritized. We talked about in our application, prioritizing special education, economically disadvantaged students, and boys. They particularly are student groups that don't attend college as much as some of our other groups. And they wanted more of a designation in terms of that. But again, we proposed that it would be for all students. They wanted it more focused. And we had a conversation with Worcester State that was going to either use adjunct faculty or our own faculty to teach here on campus. And they want our kids to go to the Worcester State campus for their coursework. So that's in the report. There's more detail there a little bit. Moving forward regarding Innovation Pathways program, My connection to that is will be more robust as we move forward. I'm going to take up some of the role that Joe Wyman had in that regard, particularly grant management and some other things in terms of the support of Mrs. Salvador developing the program. And just as a side note, tomorrow we have over 20 students that will be visiting Sterrett, Jules, and Athol for a tour of the facility, go through it and learn about careers. The district continues its relationship with Assumption University. I am part of their school counselor advisory mission group. And we met with them regarding financial aid and the FAFSA. The FAFSA, the free financial aid form this year is very different than it's been in the past, and we're finding out a little bit more detail about that. And that's something that our guidance department is following up on also. And Assumption has kind of helped us kind of come to that and find out about that. The last thing I have, or not the last thing, but MyCap is also connected to that. MyCap is a state program. I gave you a description of that in my notes. It's a program that really helps students in terms of academic planning and career planning beyond high school. It's a comprehensive program that we started to get training for in 2019, and then they discontinued the training in the middle of COVID. So we never really finished that. I attended some trainings with some others, with Tree Salvador and some others, and we're going to kind of come back to that in kind of a robust fashion. The entire guidance department attended a training yesterday morning on MyCap with MIFA. So that was productive, and we're continuing our discussions with getting the career and academic planning, like Nicholas talked about, that's a potential concern for students, not just here, but around the region. And we want to make that more robust for our students. And finally, our post-grad program continues to support students with work-based learning placements. And just to let you know, we have some new placements since the start of the year. We have students working in the New Braintree Public Library. They're there for a half an hour, 45 minutes, once or twice a week, and they're helping do some things like getting books out of the book drop and moving some things around, and they love it. They love being in the library. It's really wonderful that the library is so close and right next door. We also had placed a student just this week with the copy center at the high school, and he's going to work 2 hours to start. He's going to work 2 hours on Tuesday mornings, and he had a wonderful start to that on Tuesday, working in our copy center in support of that. And we also, Ashley Roy, who's come back from maternity leave, was able to set up a relationship with West Brookfield has a farmer's market that's indoors in the wintertime. And the kids, once a week, are going to go down there and help set up for the farmer's market in West Brookfield. So they're pretty active. They're going in a lot of different directions. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. Thank you.
This Sterrett's, it's good that the kids are going there to see it. Do we have any kids in that internship? I think we spent $25,000 to set up a 1-week training program so that they could work there. But I never heard that we have 2 kids, 10 kids, 15, and they're going to get up to $22 an hour.
Yeah, last year we had a couple of kids that worked with Sterrett, and I think that right now, presently, we don't have any students doing an internship at Sterrett Tools. Part of that is they transitioned their human resources department. The gentleman that we were working with pretty extensively retired, and we're starting to develop that relationship with the new human resources department. It's a little bit different, and they're starting to reach out to us a little bit more. I think part of the issue, honestly, with kids doing an internship at Sterrett is the distance. It's kind of tough, and especially now kids can't do in their senior year a full-time internship for any period of time. With the trimester schedule, they could take their English courses in the first trimester and the second trimester and the third trimester. The other trimester, they could do a full-time internship. They could get the required courses in. Now with the new schedule, they have courses that will run all year long, which in many ways is better academically, but it prohibits them from being out of the building for the entire day. So all of our kids are now doing part-time internships.
How about the summer?
The summer, we had a really great relationship with FlexCon over the summer, and we didn't have anything with Sterrett over the summer. Now that's something that we heard from Mass Hire, that there'll be money for summer internships again this coming summer, just like there was last summer, and we can hope to kind of expand that a little bit more and work with Sterrett as well as some of the other area industries. That
kind of goes to the point that you were talking about, a work experience and getting ready for that sort of thing. Sid Marlin, who was the Secretary of Education for Richard Nixon, a good friend of mine, passed away now. That was career education. That was a big thing that he was pushing back in the early 1970s. You won't remember that.
Anything else? No. The superintendent, to the superintendent. When is the timeline for resubmission or to develop the early education designation, the early college designation by DESI? What are our next steps?
We didn't need to go back to square one and apply as a Part A again, if we want to do that, and that would have, if that happens again, it would begin in the spring.
Okay. And then you mentioned Worcester State. Have we had a relationship with Anna Maria along the way?
We have not had a relationship with Anna Maria. We're developing a relationship with Assumption that's pretty good. We do have some kids that are doing dual enrollment at no cost at Assumption at this point. A few kids. And Anna Maria, I have not reached out to them. And honestly, part of the reason that we have a relationship with Assumption is Assumption reached out to us.
Right.
So I can absolutely reach out to more local colleges at this point, whether it be Anna Maria, whether it be, the other community colleges. That's something that we definitely can explore. And I think dual enrollment, there are other ways. Early college is really comprehensive and programmatic. Dual enrollment is much more for the individual students. What I'm finding is that now they're starting to put some money into dual enrollment too. Mm-hmm. We're more likely to be able to give our students opportunities with dual enrollment rather than that comprehensive early college program. Really, our geography is a real hindrance to say we're going to get our kids to Worcester State every day. I mean, we're talking a 45-minute ride in, 45-minute ride back. It's just, it would, for a kid to take one course at Worcester State, for a cohort of kids, and they want cohorts, for a cohort of kids to take one class at Worcester State is going to take 3 hours of their day. That's an issue.
And the only reason why I mentioned Anna Maria, because Anna Maria has a good music program. And I know that they've, when in Worcester, they did some work with us, which was good. And I was just thinking that if there was.
I will reach out to them.
We've always supported the arts. I want to know if Anna Maria, because maybe it wouldn't be a 45-minute ride, but it would be a 25-minute ride, 20-minute ride. But at least it might be an opportunity to increase. Now, we had a relationship with Mount Wachusett. Where are we with them?
Mount Wachusett is overwhelmed with their resources regarding early college with about 6 other high schools in the region. I reached out to Pittsburgh State and Mount Wachusett because they had been very successful with places like Gardner and Narragansett with early college. And they basically said they were overwhelmed and in this cycle they couldn't take on any more.
Thank you for the update.
Great. So we're going to move on to the Director of Student Services report.
So the first thing I'd like to talk about is essentially the new IEP that the state has been working on for at least 10 years at this point. It is to be released to districts in the fall of next year. The reason I mention it is because there's a grant that's known as the 274. The 274 has historically been a special ed professional development grant. It's not always there though. Sometimes it's available and sometimes it's not. This year it is available with a very specific purpose for it. And that purpose is to address training relevant to the new IEP document. If you've heard anything about the new IEP document at all, it's designed to actually try to be a bit more streamlined than the old document. By doing that, there's a bit more narrative developed into the document itself. There's a lot of automatically generated sections that will come up or not, depending on how staff actually fill the document out. So this grid will actually allow us over the next year to spend some time with our staff, hopefully training staff to be trainers on the new document. And we do have some folks that have gone to some of the state training sessions so far. And we've also been looking at what our own vendor, Aspen, has been doing relevant to updating the document online. And I am pleased to say that Aspen ran a training session for directors this last week, and they're quite far along with developing the document. And they open it up to the directors in these training sessions to get feedback from them relevant to the flow of how the document will be used. But the goal from the state is for us to actually use this document by next fall at the beginning of the start of the year. So my intent is, in writing this grant, to actually use it for stipends to train our staff. And in turn, they will train additional staff on how to use the new document. So hopefully by the time we get to next fall, all of our staff will be familiar with how the document is set up. Another thing that I'm going to mention is our TFM. And you know in your packet tonight that there are some things in there relevant to additions to the student handbooks. There was a suggestion, recommendation, something we were asked to do as a task by the state in looking at our student handbooks. They noticed that there was some documentation that was missing relevant to clarifying what happens with certain groups of students. Part of it also had to deal with like notifications to parents. So we added specific language to the student handbooks that address disciplinary procedures for those groups of kids between pre-K and grade 3. And these are very short and very brief additions to the document, but also stressing what the notification process is for parents upon any kind of disciplinary action. So my hope is that if these are approved, that we can submit the reports hopefully in the next few days, and it is a plate, which I would believe would end our continued improvement plan for the last TFM cycle. One other thing, or well, there's a couple more things I'd like to most of you are aware that last year, the SILA classrooms, which are our autism-based classes, actually had oversight and training done through New England Center for Children. And that contract ended with New England Center at the end of last year. Since then, we've been looking at trying to maintain some consistency within the classes. We've had a lot of new staff actually join us as we filled vacant positions. But one of the things that we noticed was that the oversight was more verbal than it was concretely written out for the teachers and the staff in the programs. So we've started to work on essentially a handbook or guidance book for the programs so that we can talk about entrance and exit criteria, certain visions that we have for the programs. And this would be not just for staff, but for parents as well. So that when we're talking about what the program is actually designed for, we can stress that it's designed to be kind of like a stepping stone to a lesser or less restrictive environment. So all of our programs, whether they're our therapeutic classrooms, our cognitive-based classrooms, our autism-based classrooms, or our post-grad programs, we want to make them as accessible to the general ed population, typical peers, and other settings where students can receive experiential experiences in learning. And we do believe that this project here with SOAR will probably also kind of move its way up into the other classrooms so that we do have something concrete as a guidebook to state again what our goals are with these classrooms, what our directions are, and what the entrance and exit criteria are for the classrooms themselves. I'd also like to briefly talk about updates relevant to applicants and our filling of positions. We have actually one of the positions that we've had vacant for a little while now was our physical therapist position. We've pretty much completed the onboarding, and that staff member will start after the holiday season. We also have been recently looking at applications for some of our classroom teachers, the specialized or significantly separate classrooms at the high school level that have been recently vacated. We have pretty much at this point gone into the finalization of another hire there for one of those classes. And we do have a couple other applicants for our other classroom that will be vacant probably when we come back from the Thanksgiving break. We've also had some luck in hiring paraprofessionals, not a huge steady stream of applicants, but some small gains in that area as well. And the last thing that I would like to mention tonight is our transportation. And we continue to meet and talk about ways to actually come to solutions for addressing some of the transportation issues that we've seen with our primary vendor this year. And some of those issues, as I think I've discussed before, have been students that have been late arrivals are not being picked up, whether it's at their home or at school, or basically being picked up late at the end of the day. So we continue to work on that and meet on a fairly frequent basis relevant to sharing information and trying to work on solutions with them. Any questions?
Any questions? Lee?
Yeah, so if you have the number off the top of your head, how many openings do we have, teacher-wise and para-wise, today, so to speak?
Yeah, right now in special ed, I would say that we have one vacant teacher position. Again, we're kind of like at the final stages of onboarding for one person, so I'm not counting that. Paraprofessional positions, I think right now we have, I believe, 3 positions that are open.
Thank you.
The good news, though, is things like our related services, which are not a huge pool in this area. But now, with the PT, we have 2 OTs, we have 5 speech pathologists, 2 school psychologists. I think we're actually in pretty good shape in those areas.
And with assistive technology?
We actually have that contracted out to one of the collaboratives. So if we hire like a full-time person, we would not need a full-time person to do assistive tech.
Okay.
So we do contract, they come out, they do consultation with the teachers. Sometimes it's with parents directly. Sometimes they'll update equipment for us if it's needed. And sometimes they'll directly observe the students to see how they're actually doing with the use of the technology. But as far as a full-time position, it's not something that we would post for.
Okay.
So Mr. Myville is not here, but I want to point out a couple things that are sort of important if you're thinking about attending the football game the night before Thanksgiving. We now have online tickets. You can still pay cash, but we're hoping to decrease the wait line by using something called GoFan, and it will be used during basketball season as well. So that is really exciting. We've had a lot of our student athletes, fall student athletes, be really successful. That's included in there. And something of note is that our students will have the opportunity to be on a swim team. So there's a co-op with Gardner. They'll swim at Mount Wachusett. And so far we have 5 student athletes registered to participate in that opportunity. So we're really excited about that. And they had the coaches meeting tonight, and winter sports are like right around the corner.
Good.
I was just looking at the list that he put out. There's nothing here much for 6th grade.
6th grade has the opportunity for certain sports to try out for middle school sports, and some of them make the teams. But there's nothing specific for 6th grade, if that's what you're asking.
No.
Oh.
But it's only basketball that they can try out for.
We have wrestling opportunities, cheerleading, indoor track, I think they can do. I could be wrong about that.
8 to 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's varsity. And I know, Peg, that they're doing some of the, I've seen some of the emails back and forth about 6th grade still involved in like travel basketball and.
Cheerleading also, for now that I'm looking at it, they have the 7 to 12 cheer team, but they also have a club cheer team that the students can participate in.
Good for that.
Yep.
If I can then, since it probably would make sense. Oh, Dr. Allen.
Yeah, I think a special congratulations. They really did. And when I read in the paper today, Shelley Zeldaritis, who we all know is a wonderful coach. 30 years she's been doing it. My goddaughter played for UMass Dartmouth, and they were in the NCAA's 3 of her 4 years. There was always a Quabbin kid gone through this program on that college team, playing very well. So that's one of the, we've had various programs kind of fade in and out along the way. When Franny Cranston was doing wrestling, it was top in the state. But this program has consistently, year after year, been excellent.
Is that the Uxbridge game? That was, okay. And Uxbridge, I know, has been a powerhouse.
They should have been.
Yeah. Not that I'm, not, but I'm just saying, I do know, I've read about, when you go into Uxbridge, you see signs about, I think, their soccer team. At least I think it is.
Making a good town. Yeah, I know.
Okay, okay. Before we move out.
I got another one.
Yes. Dr. Allen.
Back at the beginning, I want to note that Colleen had said more publicity, and she's been doing this quarter page from the desk of in the Barry Gazette. Today, she was talking about going to Hubbardston and being a special reader.
Yes.
And so she's been doing this regularly. Now, it's not the full page that we were talking about, what we had with Teresa a few years ago, but I think that that's an excellent sort of middle ground that's not costing us anything. That we get some information, we get some publicity that she's doing, which is one of the things that she promised us in her interview. So I think that that's good. Thank you, Colleen.
Thank you.
And then we'll have a special recognition of the committee that was asked earlier. So we'll do that. And if it's okay with the committee members, it makes sense then on our new business, we have update to student handbooks. So as John mentioned, what you were tasked and working with the superintendent with, do we want to put that up right now and be able to, in our packet, we have an outline of the updates to the handbook on the elementary level and on the high school, middle and high school level.
It's just elementary, right, John?
No, on the back.
On the
Oh,
back.
I'm sorry.
It's on the back. So it's in your packet as well as on the drive, am I right?
Yep, and we also have the post-grad handbook that is new.
Yes, okay. Yes, the post-grad. So this too would have to be approved. And out here, do you have this to put this up, to highlight the red? If we could just take a minute to do this, I think it makes total sense while we're writing the superintendent's report. And John alluded to it. Perfect timing. Would you agree, student reps? Superintendent, do you want to
John,
highlight anything, or John?
I'm going to actually ask John to do it. So John, do you want to talk about the notation in red and sort of what the big changes are?
So in looking at the student handbooks and looking at the state language from the TFM, a couple things that I started to notice. They were very specific about the language relevant to students between grades, pre-K and third grade. So that was primarily for elementary schools. But I did notice also the notification language was not consistent with what the state was recommending. So I went into the middle school, high school handbook as well and made additions there as well. And if I saw anything that wasn't in alignment in that disciplinary section, then I added that as well to make sure it was consistent amongst all handbooks.
Okay. So it's in red, what the highlighted pieces, and then on the middle and high school, again, upon the date of disciplinary decision of suspension, parents will be provided with a written notice of procedural safeguards along with the notification of disciplinary action. You just needed to put, an introductory type statement.
Right, it's the additions are very short.
Right. Is there a motion to accept what's presented on the updates of the handbooks for the middle and high school? So moved. Is there a second? Second. Any further discussion on those two? The elementary updates and the middle and high school?
We just asked for a vote only on middle high school.
At this time?
Yeah.
Because then we'll go over to the student handbook for the post-grad. Any further comment, questions? Roll call.
Would you like to wait until Dr. Allen returns and we're going to start roll call without him?
I could vote for him.
I can start.
We don't have a proxy. We can start, and then we'll come wrap around.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. Deschamps?
Yes.
Mr. Lannon?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Garvey?
Yes.
Ms. Cartier?
She was there before.
Ms. Cartier? She's not there right now. Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Chafee?
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Nutter?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes. I know we'll wait for Dr. Allen. Bring you up. We were just doing a vote on the updates of the student handbook on the elementary and secondary. Just some language for clarification so parents know the decisions and the process as it goes forward for potential disciplinary perspective. And we did a roll call for acceptance of this in our packet. And your.
Dr. Allen?
Dr. Allen? Verbally?
He said yes.
Yes.
You listen to me. I said.
Verbally? Yes. Okay.
I gave Lee my power of attorney on that one.
And then if we could just, in our packet, which makes sense, we now have the postgraduate student and family handbook in front of us as well. Is there any further question, comment?
Is that in the drive?
Yep,
Right?
it is. I can pull it. It is called Postgrad Student Handbook Draft. If your screen looks like the screen on here, it's the sixth thing, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth thing down. Postgrad.
Want to bring it up?
Yep.
Thank you, thank you.
I will in a second here. It's going
To the superintendent or to Greg, is there anything that, or John, anything that we need?
Here we go. It looks like this, Walter.
I would just add that we've worked on this file with Wales. And one of the things that we did try to do with the book was to put in specific program like goals or statements for that.
And I would suspect that during any potential our special education audits or our SE audits, they'd be looking for this type of handbook on that postgraduate perspective as well. Is there a motion to accept the handbook on the postgrad? Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Dr. Allen. Any further discussion, comment? School committee members? Roll call.
Dr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. Deschamps?
Yes.
Mr. Willannon?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Garvey?
Yes.
Ms. Cartier? I don't think she's- Mrs. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Chafee?
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Nutter?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes. Thank you for that adaptation and change. Director of Administrative Services, is there anything on warrants you said you wanted to?
Yeah.
Since our last meeting, the warrants that were released were biweekly payroll 9 and 10, Weekly payroll 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20, and accounts payable 31A, 32B, 33A, 34H, 35B, 36FR, 37FQ, 38A, and 39B.
Okay, good work. That is now highlighted and documented. Teacher Advisory Council,
Not here tonight.
Subcommittee reports, Administrative Review, Central Office.
Yeah, that's me. A lot of papers in front. So we had a meeting today. And topics for discussion. So the first one, very interesting. So we had some individuals come forward to us, support of a petition that they want to name a couple of our fields for people, for two people who have strong ties to Quabbin who have deceased, since deceased. So when we looked into the naming or our how we would go about naming something, policy is very thin. Our policy right now talks about only naming schools. So putting a name on a school, one of the schools in the Quabbin area. It does not talk about anything else, any gyms, classrooms, fields, etc. That's like one paragraph of the policy. The second paragraph says the superintendent will prepare procedure for this policy. So there's like nothing, no procedure to prepare this for. So the superintendent had provided with a number of policies in this area from different schools, some regional schools and some just standings, town standing schools. And they go in a lot of different directions. Some are very repetitive, sort of 60 or 70% are repetitive in what they say, but all of them have sort of something a little further out there that makes sense and are interesting to see what some people approach this as. So the thought was, the subcommittee's thought was that we would take this situation, this issue, and move it over to Dr. Allen's subcommittee for policy and review. And I would ask him if he could maybe put that on his December agenda. I don't know.
Colleen, if you please.
Sure.
It's done.
What I plan on doing is looking at taking the number of policies that were provided me by the superintendent and kind of get everything together so that it's not repetitive, but it sort of includes everything that all these other schools have put in there. And then we can, at your meeting next month, we can like review this and discuss it. A number of issues were brought up as we discussed this. And I guess one is that we have some places that have been named within our district and kind of nobody really knows how they got named. Now, in my 24 years sitting on this committee, not once, and I bounced it by Peggy too, because she's been, I think, longer than I have, do we remember anything, any naming coming up to the school committee? Now, Dr. Allen, you have a couple more years on us. I mean, do you recollect anything specific as to a school committee vote to name some aspect of something in the district?
It's more, oh, isn't this a good idea? We've decided to do this. School committee, we're just letting you know. That's more the procedure. Or somebody has done something like alumni field. They came to me and said, we want to put up the lights. So it was sort of they put the money up to put up the lights, and in thanks, we named it Alumni Field. I think there's a Corey Trask something.
Auditorium.
Yeah, there's also, the gym in Hardwick was named after Joe Villard. And I think that was done maybe by the community. I don't think, I mean, it just happened. You know, there's pictures on the wall by the door.
So
That's new to us. I mean, that's what I'm saying. We
Right, so
I didn't even know that.
Right, so I think we need to get a specific policy together, and make some decisions on that. Even to the point of saying, are these other things grandfathered in? Is there something that we should revisit? I mean, that's something all up for discussion. I'm not offering anything specific, but I think we really need to get a policy. And looking at some of the policies the other places have, some have gotten very specific into areas that I kind of look at and said, wow, I never would have thought of that, but it does make sense. So I think that's something that I would like you to take up next committee meeting. Since I'm on the committee, I will, that's.
Unless you have that petition, you have the request.
Right, so we have a request sitting there, but obviously it can't really go forward until we get a policy together.
Yes, policy needs to precede the action.
Got it. And the second area we spoke with was the busing situation for our special ed kids, and I'm going to turn that over to the superintendent.
Sure. John alluded to it a little bit earlier, but we've been meeting multiple times with our vendor. We're at the point where we're going to come to a resolution by December 15th is our deadline, and we are looking at, we have language to be able to substitute some of the routes. So our proposal is to take some of the out-of-district routes, substitute them out, so it'll free up their drivers from the out-of-district routes to provide better service to our students in districts so that we can shore up our arrival and dismissal times for our students.
And you've had 3 meetings, right, already?
3 meetings in the past 3 weeks, I think. 2 weeks, John? Yeah. And then 4 prior to that, starting last spring.
Yeah. That's it.
Okay. Audit, I heard report out, we'll probably have in December. We'll hear from, have the audit. Budget, Mr. Wiggler isn't here, so nothing at this moment.
Mr. Wiggler wondered what the number was for rural, if we had the figure for rural schools.
We do.
I explained that Cheryl wouldn't be here tonight. We might have to
Okay.
get back to him, which
That
he was
would-
fine with.
That would be great.
Okay.
I don't want to misspeak off the top of my head, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And he said he'd probably want to call a budget committee meeting.
Yes.
Sometime.
We've talked about that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, I'll be calling a meeting, okay. Collective bargaining,
Nothing at this time.
building, grounds and safety,
Nothing.
policy review and reform.
Don't get alarmed by how much of the page is taken up here. The first thing we spent some time on, and it was really good, is the co-teaching and intervention. This is, well, there's 2 different programs, but they kind of support each other. This classroom, there is a regular teacher and a special ed teacher. And they went through, Josie Ewart and Julian Madden, and they went through the benefit of having the 2 kinds of teachers in there. And the fact that they can set up the class so that one is teaching and one is observing in the back. One is teaching and the other is taking kids that need extra help to the side and working with them. They're both circulating throughout the classroom. You didn't get a very good handout here. For our meeting, we got a whole lot better handout. But there's a little chart on the second page, and that's showing various ways, various configurations for the classroom. But the benefits seem to be very great. We asked that some data be provided to us at a later meeting. Do they see any difference in student scores or how they're doing? The fact that the regular classroom teacher is learning from the special ed and vice versa. And sometimes it's a wonderful program. They also have this effectiveness, and you can look at that. It's a chart, and, you know, it kind of continues this notion of how this is benefiting the kids and the teachers who are doing the teaching. So I would imagine our friends who run a school like this in Hardwick would agree with that particular notion, because I suspect that you must do things like this also. And boy, that really looked good. And the intervention all looks pretty good too. That's another way of taking kids who are beginning to fall behind a little bit. And in Flex Block, they take them and they work with them. And they work hard to get them back up to speed, get them back up to snuff, get them back up to the level of their peers. And it just looks like a really good program. Now, the strange thing I thought was, when you look at the co-teaching, 7th grade ELA, 8th grade ELA, and Algebra 2. Now, it seemed to me Algebra 1 would be a logical precursor, but they also were designing this around the teachers who wanted, could, were interested in, seemed to have some background capability and that sort of thing. And I guess at this point, I would ask my fellow subcommittee members if anybody wants to make any comments, because I was really very impressed, yeah.
You know, I'm a big fan of this model because they're reaching all kids at all levels, whether they're on an IEP, 504, special ed, general ed, and people learn things in different ways. So hearing it from two different people using different methods and different setups, it's just phenomenal because we're reaching all the students now. And I know, you know, one concern is now we have 2 teachers in a classroom, but with this model and this support, especially at the middle school level, to bring them up, I think we're going to see savings in other areas and our students excelling. So hopefully we can support them and get them where they need to be, and they can continue their journey forward with less support in the future. So the program itself was just phenomenal, the way they're running, and they described it as a marriage, and it really is. And they've had to learn, because it's not just the special ed teacher teaching only special ed, and it's not the general ed teacher teaching only general ed. They're both learning from each other and using similar practices and working together on who's teaching what lesson and how, and they're really dividing it up together. So it is a partnership, and the staff is just really embracing it, and the students, I think, are really going to benefit from this.
Yeah, and that brings up another point, which is it's soft money.
Okay, and then Lee.
I think to kind of tail up with what Deb said, what I was impressed about was the fact that they would like to reach a point where the students wouldn't be able to distinguish between a special ed teacher and a regular ed teacher. It is a marriage, and as Dr. Allen pointed out, it's taking place in 3 classes right now, and the people involved want to be involved. And I think it's a really good way to launch this program in a positive way if you have people that really want to participate in it. And going forward and talking about the soft money, I'm hoping that as this program expands, that we as a school committee will financially support this, because as Deb said, it's maybe money up front, but it's going to pay dividends in terms of maybe not needing to spend so much on the needs of the kids further on down the road, that a lot of those needs that the kids present with are going to be managed within a regular classroom with the support that they've got. And it just goes along with that idea of the least restrictive environment for everybody. So I'm just very impressed with this program, and I am impressed with the way it's starting, and I'm impressed with the the supports that are in place to make sure that the adults that are married are going to be successful.
Yeah, and weren't these women who are running it, weren't they good?
They were excellent. They were.
Really?
You know, we're in, and I would echo that little bit about, oh, geez, somebody may say something about 2 teachers in a classroom. Post-COVID, you can read anywhere, social, emotional, academic, significant issues nationally. This is a time to do this.
One good thing about this, especially it being in the middle school, is for National Honor Society, me and Isabel both in National Honor Society, the National Honor Society is constantly getting requests to go into the middle school, and we are spread thin. Well, luckily we got new members last night, but we are spread thin in our own high school flex blocks with tutoring, and we have requests, and we also have requests in elementary schools as well to go to elementary schools and tutor kids in elementary school. So this co-teaching format would actually really help not only us, but also students get to where they need to be in the classroom, rather than them having to kind of find help outside of it, or when they're already 3 assignments behind, and then they're suddenly in flex block with a tutor who only comes on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
And I'll add, when I go into the gym, Dextrator is concerned about any of his kids that are getting close to the border or below the border. And he's there doing tutoring. What is there, about 6, 7, 8 of you who are doing tutoring of some sort?
There are, I know there's 2 to 3 of us who do, like high schoolers, upperclassmen who do the tutoring.
Yes.
And then we usually have, we mainly have a couple kids who we tutor every week, but then we also do have the occasional like extra kids that we usually tutor. Because at one point I did find myself having to tutor 4 different kids in the gym, so I was running around tutoring all 4. But it's also with these, because Coach Dex is concerned about that, especially with them passing, because everybody, all of our athletes know that you have to be successful in the classroom in order to be able to get to step on a court, a field, whatever it is. And especially with these kids, they kind of just need a moment to sit down and just do the work. And to go back to co-teaching, that would actually help them stay focused in the classroom, because now they have 2 teachers making sure they're doing their work and helping them with their work, rather than them just sitting there staring at their Chromebook, staring off into space and not getting their work.
Yep. Okay.
Good observation.
Good all around.
Yeah.
It is. Now, we have 3 pods of policies to deal with. The first one is on the table. We're placing on the table IGA through GBI. I make a motion to put those on the table for the next meeting.
Second.
Any further discussion? Because they're going on the table as well as available for any comments via the web is correct. Jessica?
These are the one, yep, for public review, yep.
Public review.
Now, do we need to vote on these individually, or can we vote on them all
As a
together?
pod.
We can put it on a pod to put on the table. But I would like, and you know, Dr. Allen, even though it's a pod, I'd still, for the record, we need to state the policy and the name of the policy. And we don't, you have to go, each one of them to vote, but we have to state it publicly. Could you do that, please?
Yeah, policy IGA, IGD, curriculum development and adoption. Policy CBI, evaluation of the superintendent. Policy CHCA, approval of handbook and directives. Policy EB, safety program. Policy EBCFA, face covering. Policy GBA, equal employment opportunity. Policy GBI, staff participation in political activities. And as a footnote, I will add, we had 2 other policies on harassment that we wanted to take a little bit more time to look at. So we're holding those that were in the original pod.
Okay.
Pull them out to spend more time on for the next meeting.
Second.
Good. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Dr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. Deschamps?
Yes.
Mr. Willannon?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Garvey?
Yes.
Ms. Chafee?
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Nutter?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay, we have the next part, policies to remove from the table. This means that we.
Mrs. Chamberlain, I am so sorry. I forgot Mrs.
Yes.
Chamberlain.
Yes.
So sorry.
He's hard to overlook, too.
I know, I don't know why.
Okay, policy AA, regional school district legal status. Policy BDFA, school council. Policy BDFA-E, school improvement. Policy CHA, development of procedures. Policy JKAA, physical restraint of students. BHE, use of electronic messaging by school committee members. EFE, civil rights complaint policy for child nutrition programs.
Second.
Okay, second. And any further discussion? This is off the table, have been now for adoption.
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Dr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. Deschamps?
Yes.
Mr. Willinan?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Garvey?
Yes.
Mrs. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Chafee?
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Nutter?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay, the last part is we're removed. Take them from the table and take them out of the policy manual and shoot them in the foot. Policy BEDBE, agenda format. Policy BK, school committee memberships. Policy CHCAE, approval of handbook. Policy CL, administrative reports. Policy JKA, included in JKAA. Policy KCB, community involvement in decision-making.
Second.
Okay. It's become obsolete and incorporated in other policies.
Yes.
Any further comment? Roll call.
Dr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. Deschamps?
Yes.
Mr. Willinan?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Garvey?
Yes.
Mrs. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Chafee?
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Nutter?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
That's it.
All right. And your next meeting?
Monday, first Monday of December.
December
And among
4th.
other things, we're going to be hearing what Lee has to say about this new policy,
Naming.
updated policy and field and other things.
Student services. It's time, okay. Technology.
Nothing more than what Andrew had stated.
Ad hoc school district configuration.
Trying to figure something out with the superintendent time-wise.
We'll do it before we leave tonight. We'll grab Mr. Clark before he heads out.
Okay.
Okay, so subcommittee forthcoming. Unfinished business, bid results of the Chiller project borrowing.
That was actually included in Cheryl's report, so I think we're good on that.
Okay. Public comment. Do we have any public comment?
We do not.
School committee concerns. Please.
Okay, so just a couple. I'm looking at what we had in our handouts today, and I guess I'm just dumbstruck. We get $5,600,000 in grants this year.
It is a lot of money. Yes. So the co-teaching that you're talking about, we had a grant for co-teaching. We've had effective practices grants this year. And don't forget, we also get entitlement grants. So many of our grants to support our students with disabilities and also our Title I students. Those are also large entitlement grants. And we have written for an awful lot of grants in the past few years.
I mean, that's great, but it was just like, it kind of blew me away when I saw that number.
You know, I think the thing to think about, because it is great and it's also challenging. So what has happened is we're going to be talking about this as we approach budget season. But as you remember, we received ESSER funding after COVID. So we had 3 years of grant money for ESSER funding, and that was significant. And we put that into many staff positions to support our students, both in the areas of mental health and behavior and different things like that. That funding is coming to an end for us at the end of this school year. So we really have to think about how we can support those positions moving forward. So that's always the challenges with grants, is that they're short duration, and then the idea is that we should be able to sustain them. The state as a whole has really moved. I think what we would advocate for is to have that money put into our formulas so that it was more consistent all the time. But they've moved to prioritizing certain things over the past few years that they want schools to really work on and adopt. So high quality curriculum materials is an example of that. We received a $200,000 grant for literacy materials, if you remember, the year before last. So they put these grants out there. We're encouraged to seek them and use them, but when they involve positions, it becomes challenging for us to maintain them. So I just, put it out that that's a real thing. And both the federal government and our local state legislator have cautioned about cuts to some of our entitlement grants. So it's something we're paying attention to carefully.
The other thing is that, as the superintendent mentioned, we probably sat collectively for 50 plus seminars. And there were some that were interesting, and most of them, we kind of get together later and say, been there, done that, we're ahead of the curve. But there was one that really, to me, and I think to others was interesting. On a Friday morning, they did a breakfast, and they had a professor from MIT, and he did a whole program there on AI chat GPT, which of course is kind of buzzing through everywhere, like, kids are going to cheat because they can go on his chat GPT. And he tried to demystify it in a bit, and kind of spoon feed us who have no clue on this stuff. But essentially what it is, he says it's not some, brainy computer that is thinking all this stuff. It's it's essentially word association. So this system just went out and picked up like every word in the world, like a Wikipedia and all this stuff. And then what it started to do is pick what the next, and it did it in sequence. What would be the next word that would come after this? So in other words, if let's say we plugged in school committee, all right, school committee concerns might be like 10th down. School committee meeting might be up there. But then what happens now, it just gets a whole plugin of words. So school committee concerns, then there's a whole another plugin of words. And this is done within like milliseconds, so that, pages and pages of stuff can come out if you plug in, like a question. If you have an exam or something coming up and say, okay, how do I want to answer this? And you say, how will blah, 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 and you put it in and you get all this stuff that comes out. And he pointed out that most of it comes out pretty well, but some of it comes out a little mixed up. And he just gave a great example, and he did it with his class. So MIT, the mascot is a beaver. So they put in, what is the MIT mascot? Expecting, one would expect, the one word answer would be beaver. And instead, like 4 paragraphs came out. The beaver is this. There's a statue of the beaver there. Beaver, blah, blah, blah. And he said the first 2 paragraphs were correct. He said, then we got to the 3rd paragraph, and it started like, and at MIT, there's a tradition called the beaver rush. And he said, and the system says, the freshmen come in and they take part in this, and they do some of this stuff. And it was kind of a brief paragraph. So he says, my students are looking there, and he said the first question, or the first statement was, there's no such thing as a beaver rush. But the second question, my students said, wait a minute, if there was a beaver rush, why wasn't I invited to it? So he said, so then they typed it in. They said, okay, what is the beaver rush? And it came out like with a couple pages, and it had all this stuff. There's all kinds of competitions. There's tugs of war. There's some computer game they use, and there's, they bond through this. They have a big cookout, a bonfire, blah, blah, blah. He said, none of it is true. So then, and this part, I didn't get the total here because everybody's clinking their coffee and all that good stuff as they're doing this. So he said, so then we put in the thing, my students tell me there's no such thing as beaver rush. And then it like comes back and it said, oh, I apologize. And he said, and then he said, he can't apologize because it's not real. It's just a bunch of words together. And it came out with the whole bunch of stuff. So he said, the thing is, and he went further into how, okay, you know, teachers for years have been handling sort of this stuff. I mean, not this, but just other stuff where students can buy in and get information and do this, and teachers would just have to figure out how to handle it, how to know if the student's really writing it or not writing it, maybe do some more oral essays or something like that. But it was very, he was really good, very illuminating. I mean, for an hour and a half, hour 15, hour 20 minutes, that was the quickest hour in 20 minutes because it was both informative and entertaining, and it was really good. So that's the stuff we go to.
And if I could make a comment on that too, is we have time to look at. We as districts, as school committees and superintendents and students is to look where AI belongs in curriculum, in professional development learning, in policies and things like that. You said you can start slowly, so you don't have to like jump. You have your technology committees and everything at this time, but you need to start looking at little by little. So we'll be looking at that because it's going to be coming from administration and teachers. And then what I like was to build inside the system of the folks that like to do the AI, get teachers and staff members to experiment, get grants to get them to start doing other things because they become your leaders in the district dealing with AI. So it's not a top down or policy push down. Am I right?
Yep, exactly.
So that was and then you're absolutely right. Not only, and then it predicts, it's a prediction machine and selection, not a thinking of it's doing things. Because when it searches the world and finds that there was this beaver rush, there's really no such thing. But it was written somewhere, it was put somewhere. So think about discerning real versus misinformation. Wow, this is huge. The next steps, not only for information, problem solving, and what you're going to do with it.
And it keeps collecting information. I mean, even now, even today, and all that. It's just like
all about you.
I mean, millions and millions and billions of words. And it just runs through. And so I guess if it reads something where there is a beaver rush or whatever, in reality, then it'll pull it up. And then once again, runs through the words to say, okay, what's the next logical word or next logical question? And I guess if you're doing this type of thing, I haven't done it. And I don't even know how I would start, but you can start typing in stuff. So if you're a student and you know, thermonuclear dynamics, it's going to be your paper, you type it in and it'll give you suggestions and you might find a couple words that, oh, this makes sense. So then you retype it with those two words and then it goes further and you in a night, you can work your way through a pretty nice
It may be a
paper.
good tool used properly.
Oh, no, right, if used properly,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Right.
But on the flip side.
It may not.
Any other school committee, Dr. Allen and then Deb.
Well, Deb can go first.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, we continue doing good things here. I know Colleen was at Matilda. I went there. I don't know if any of the others of you. I guess we had Trunchbull here earlier.
She's still here. She's right.
I talked to you afterwards, briefly, because in the movie, Ms. Trunchbull was 6 feet 6'2", 250 anyway. And she projected this, and this not large person did a wonderful job of projecting authority and dominance and got into the role and did a wonderful job. Oh, there had to be what, 50, 60 kids in that?
Not even, I think maybe we had 35.
35, well, it was somewhere between a Paso and a whole bunch. But, and it was so well done. It really
Amazing.
was. And, you know, we've talked about this basketball thing, and there was a soccer thing with the special ed kids and the support groups and all that. And there's all the kinds of things that it just reaches out and does things. And I see we're going to be sending some kids over to Eastern Europe. it's just wonderful. And to follow up, this meeting on the Cape, we're a small rural district. And not a lot, but many people come talk to us, find out what we're doing and how it's working and what's happening and that sort of thing. And in many ways, I think over the years, our district has been one where, as I said, we are ahead of the curve. We try to think down the road. We try to think about the students and the kids and what we need to do for them. And it's not just stupid putting out the fire kind of things. Why you did good.
Yep.
I'll try not to go on too much because it was my first experience at the conference and I really, really enjoyed a lot. Like everything we went to, I learned something, whether we were further ahead than they were talking about already or new things coming with standards for different areas or I had kind of an aha moment in one of our keynote dinner speakers on equity. And, I think we try to do a good job with that. And we've had some training ourselves, but it really is just about being a good human and making sure everyone belongs. And the way things are presented to you, sometimes in different ways, you have those moments where you kind of connect with the story or whatever the situation, but you're right. There was over 800 people and you quickly just talk and compare notes and meet people and you see them in other sessions and you build relationships with other districts very quickly. I do think we're doing a really good job though. I was really proud. I was. But I think for me, I've been on the committee 10 years now, and it was kind of eye-opening, and I kind of reflected, we're asking all of our staff and educators and students to always continue learning, and we need to make sure we're doing that too. And we do a lot of our work in the subcommittee, so whenever we have opportunities that we can take advantage of learning different things from others, I think we should take advantage of that. And then one other kind of Hubbardston related thing I wanted to bring up. I received an email that Ann Goby, who is now the Director of Rural Affairs, is going to be holding a roundtable session in Hubbardston on Monday, the 27th. So I plan on attending and you have to RSVP and submit, but I just wanted to make everyone aware, obviously, I've reached out to the superintendent with her concerns and, feel free to email me if anyone can't make it or, obviously the Hubbardston people, hopefully we can kind of make a presence and at least have our voices heard a little bit in that platform. So that was another thing at the committee, I realized and the chair and I kind of talked about, Quabbin doesn't have a national presence at our Mass Association of School Committees so, if any of us have these interests or, there are other opportunities for us to, as committee members, to have our voices heard and kind of make some noise about our needs here. So it was kind of puts a little extra bounce in your step. And I tried to reflect upon a lot of the talks in the MIT one, the equity, the teacher of the year, they were all great. And I did, I learned a lot. So I appreciate the opportunity.
We also mentioned how we might be able to run a couple seminars.
Yes.
We sat in a couple and we're thinking,
Yes,
man,
we
we're way beyond this. We should be putting up our own seminars because we're 5 years ahead of where these people are thinking of doing, now.
Lee and I actually did one because of that.
Yeah, become presenters. I know, like Eagle Hill, you're very good in allowing staff and teachers to become presenters and get involved in research and in your discipline and things like that. So it's a good thing for us to get involved both on local, state, and even national for us to be involved. Anyone? Yes.
So we just had kind of one question about one of the grants that we have this year. It's under one of the DESE administered grants, account 729, it's all the way at the bottom on that first section about student cell phone use. We have $25,000 going to that. Now, we are aware that that is a grant that funds for like materials for certain policies, schools.
Yep.
So,
So-
yeah, so our question is what is it?
So Ms. Vassar and Principal DeMarias are on the call as well, but, so the grant was written for over the summer. And the intention of the grant is, and Carrie, I see you there, so jump in. But the intention of the grant was to reduce students' use of cell phones. And so that could be everything from having students put them into locked bags, like you've probably heard about, or you have some teachers who have the shoe bags on the back of their door, having students put the cell phone into the shoe bag, collecting them after the class is over. And so I think the team is still working, to be perfectly honest with you, on what feels right and best for Quabbin students. And they've had several different iterations about what that might be. I don't know if Principal DeMarias or Ms. Vassar want to speak to that, or if I sort of covered it. But that is the place where we are. But you're absolutely right, Nick. It is for materials. It could also cover some training, that type of things. They have visited other schools that use the yonder bags, they're called, where the locks the pouch in. But I know a lot of their discussion has been around sort of like appropriateness and that idea of gradual release, that as juniors and seniors, you're heading off into the real world. So what might it look for our 7th graders versus our 10th and 12th graders? And do teachers, they've also surveyed their teachers and staff, do they have effective practices in place? Are we really having these challenges? So all of that data is informing their decisions. Do you guys want to add anything, or yeah?
I think you covered it really well. Ms. Muha, we're looking at the data. We are definitely surveying our teachers and seeing the appropriateness. Is this a middle school challenge? Is it a high school challenge? Do we need it at all? Could it be utilized as a level 2 or 3 consequence instead of everybody? So if it's just, the appropriateness of the age, when to use it, and some feedback from our staff. We're still in data collection right now.
Also, no problem. Also on that.
Thank you for asking. That's a great
Absolutely.
question.
I don't know, it was about 10 years ago? Well, how many years ago was it? Or 8 years ago? Bring your own device. Bob, and we created a policy and we supported the use because we said, we, not only the school administration, that yes, could bring it, use it under the supervision of teachers, the appropriateness, that type of thing. So we do have a policy of bring your own device. Yes, it's relied on the principal leadership, it's relied on the teacher and their access and their use. What was it, about 8 years ago?
I think it was.
I know time's going on, but bring your device.
It's been a
while.
It's been a while.
Yeah, I bet it's
So-
probably 12 years.
Even though I know that there are some districts out there that want to use full restriction, I heard it pretty clear from the superintendent by saying, looking at it from a developmental point of view, access point of view, usage point of view, supervision point of view, and I would think educationally sound and appropriate. But that's something too, I would suspect you'll have a say in that and participate in that process as what is the principal and her team looking at.
One of the challenges with seeing we've been talking about grant money tonight, one of the challenges with that grant was we had anticipated having it by the end of summer, and then it wasn't awarded until partway into the school year. And that happens sometimes with grants, which makes it more challenging to sort of do what you might have thought you would have done with it. Do you know what I mean?
Dr. Allen?
There was an editorial in the Boston Globe, I think Monday, might have been Sunday, but I think it was Monday on MCAS. And it referred to a pretty decent study by a professor at Brown University.
You got it. You said it.
Okay, yeah, I think that I would request that that be distributed to all school committee members. I think it was, who else has seen it? Obviously you have one.
Yeah, I read it.
I think it was well done, and it had data to support the various conclusions. You talked about the Teacher of the Year. Very articulate, very impassioned, very much against the MCAS. But she didn't really have any data to support her emotional conclusions. It just, for her, she felt didn't work and felt it took away from time she wanted to spend with students. Whereas this article talks about what happens and what difference it makes and that sort of thing.
So, yeah, I think that'd be a great idea.
Yeah.
Y'all get that?
Yeah.
Want to make a copy of that?
Any other school committee concerns? I just want to just make one comment, again about a conference. Every year, we kind of report back. I'm glad that we're able to send 4 or 5 of us to go. I like others, and that's why I'm glad that Deb came this year. If there are others that are interested, please feel free to think about it. I know that you have schedules, and it is a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday type perspective, and you may not be able to take 3 days, but just please take it and continue to take the understanding that they get involved. And I just wanted to say, equity was one of their themes of the conference. And we talk about, not just equity in, a sense of fairness and belonging, but I learned something that I liked, and it's the language. It's language. And I sat in a session with, Northampton and the Center for Educational Collaborative, whatever it is out there. But understanding the safety of what it is, a sense of belonging is, of equity. And equity too can be, distributed unfairly, of access and opportunity. We talk about access and opportunity in the special education world or in education. But I like the terms that I understood, that if you get into this work and understanding it from a systems point of view of what othering means, what breaking means, bridging, and a sense of belonging. Those are the words they use to be able to do that think work, to say, how is our system? Is it equitable and fair for access for all students? It's not picking on or singling people out or groups out. It's more about the sense of belonging. And you use that word.
It is.
I just
and
wanted to bring that up.
I think what was eye-opening for me with all of that was like, we don't even realize it. And again, she proved it in the group. I forget her exact question now, it's escaping me, but she proved to the group that we had done it. As a group collectively, we didn't look at her the same way because she was a Black woman. And it was something about being the most lucrative woman, and no one in the crowd heard her introduction and her accomplishments. And, we had other answers. So it's kind of the implied things that we've grown up in our own culture. So, and we're not going to change it just as in our culture. But you know what? If we teach our children and they teach, and that's how we're going to make a change. So if you think you're not making a difference in your own little world, you are. You are. And if you make one person feel safe and welcome, then you've done a good job. So we just need to be good people.
I just want to just tell you that, multiple tier of supports, special education issues, the new IEP. I went to a session on that. Legal issues. I like the legal issues part, and also what's in collective bargaining. What is happening in these districts? So again, please think about getting involved on the state level if you'd like. And I'd love to have, because I don't mind giving my seat up for another, because we can't have 8 to have a quorum. But if we were able to have 5 or 6, 7 people, I'd like it. So think about that if it can work.
Look who's working at the state level.
Exactly, both of them at the state level. So,
One more thing.
and then,
I
yes,
won't forget it.
That was any other
Principal
school committee
DeMarais is going
concerns?
to-
I'd just like to say that,
Well,
just because I had this article,
waiting
I'm
for
not I'm not pro or against the, I made a decision on the NCAP, so it's just another voice,
Exactly. Anyone else? And then we have one, let's see, School Committee. I know we don't have nothing for a request for executive session. There's nothing there. But we have one outstanding item in new business. Request for approval, 2025 student trip to Eastern Europe.
So move with the usual provisos.
I think Principal DeMarais was going to say a little, just give you a little information about it first.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. In the spirit of travel, I want to start off with hola, konnichiwa, guten tag, assalamu alaikum, namaste, and ciao. So we are hoping to endeavor and embark on a trip to Eastern Europe in April of 2025. So not next year, but the year after.
Year after.
Middle high school travel program has been very successful these past few years. But because of COVID, our every other year travel opposite the NJROTC trips has gotten a little bit off track. We'd like to get back on that schedule, so we sent out an interest survey to gain the likelihood of a trip perhaps the following school year to gain some of the momentum. As you know, we're going to Costa Rica this February. The survey showed more than enough interest in Eastern Europe in April of 2025. This would potentially be an 11-day trip, 9 of which make up April break, and where students will explore culture, history, ecological practices, and the beauty of Croatia, Slovenia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, that was tough, and Hungary. Ms. Stoltz, along with Mr. Gilmartin, would be leaders of this trip. This is the same team that brought the 2 tours to Galapagos and are headed to Costa Rica this February. The trip will be open to all students in the high school in the year 2025, and additional chaperones will be decided amongst Quabbin staff when the trip is finalized. We are hoping to have over a dozen travelers with as many as 30 students, hopefully at the top level. And we are looking for your blessings and support. So we'd love to send our kids to Eastern Europe 2025.
There a motion?
I made the motion.
Okay, Dr. Allen, and seconded by me. Okay. Any further questions or any questions, Superintendent? Or the principal? One quick question, I'm not sure, because I know it's an ebb and flow. Are any of these countries at this moment on a no travel recommendation at this time?
As of now, at this time, none of these countries are.
Okay.
They're in the clear as of now.
Anyone else?
Any cost factors?
It's in your, I think
I didn't see it.
it's not on there. She told me she sent it, but maybe she didn't.
Us? We have the outline.
Okay, maybe she didn't send that.
Didn't send the cost?
That's not
I don't know
that.
if that would come to us later since it's,
It might, I think they probably try and get approval before they
Figure out how many.
get all
people,
the,
they probably need
yeah.
to know how many first.
And did you mention as little as a dozen to 30? What is the minimum and max you're looking at?
Yes, so we're looking at 12 minimum and 30. We can take up to 40 if we need be, but 12 to 30 for now.
Okay. Any further? discussion?
These are awesome.
Go ahead.
I've chaperoned several of them that we've gone through with our students. I've been to Peru and France and Germany and Switzerland and Costa Rica and going to Iceland. And the experience not only with the kids but with the faculty there, and there's no price tag on it. It's priceless. And our students went to this Eastern Europe trip last year. And it was phenomenal.
Beautiful. Any other questions? Roll call.
Dr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. Deschamps?
Yes.
Mr. Wolanin?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Garvey?
Yes.
Mrs. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Chafee?
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson? Mr. Nutter?
Yes.
Mr. Tierman?
Yes. Motion to adjourn?
Move we adjourn.
Adjourn and what?
Wait,
What?
just a quick question. So I have this CAS project in my file.
It got tabled until December.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
it's still- okay.
I didn't know that prior to the meeting, so that's why it's in your packet.
Okay, that's.
But I just
Okay.
moved it to the December drive, so you're all set there.
Okay.
We'll retrieve the hard copies and
Now I'll
reuse them.
Second, good, and adjourned. Good evening.